Well, hello there, everybody. Welcome back to the DreamHack Summer 2013 StarCraft 2 tournament. We're about to get underway with the last game of the round of 16. Welcome back, Nathaniel. How are you doing?
I'm doing pretty well. Had a nice break watching you and Paul, In Control cast. How are you doing, good sir?
I'm doing all right, but I'm a little bit thirsty, in all honesty. I don't know what it is, but I've just been feeling...
Apollo.
Oh, hello, Madalisk.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm really thirsty at this moment.
You're thirsty?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. I wish I could help you.
Can you?
I don't know if you've seen it, but I kind of made it pretty clear that I wanted to share Coke with you.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's funny you say that.
So I actually brought an Apollo Coke for you.
Oh. Oh, really?
Would you like to have it? Would you like to share it with me?
Yes. This is mine. Look at that. Look, it's me. Thank you, Madalisk. Well, that's
You're
funny.
welcome.
That's really funny you say that you wanted to share a Coke with me. Madalisk, would you share a Coke with me?
I would love to share a Coke with you. Wow, thank you, Apollo.
Well,
that's so
thank
sweet.
you. Well, I guess it's time to quench my thirst, so bear with me.
So how was it?
That was the best Coke I've had. Thank you, Madalisk. Thank you.
Nice, awesome. So
appreciate
I
that.
hope we will get to see some nice games now then.
I hope so. I'm feeling great. My throat is amazing now. Thank you.
Perfect, and thank you. See you guys.
Oh boy. Let's get
much.
into the game. Save me, Nathanius. Save me.
Well, hopefully this series will save more than your thirst, as we have quite a nice matchup coming up. Starting off on Whirlwind, a Terran versus Zerg, and well, spawning in the top left position of the map that is Whirlwind, we have our red Terran player coming in for DHOpen. It is Gumiho. Flesh doesn't have the towel on his hand. But spawning in the top right position as the blue Zerg player from Quantic Gaming, it is none other than Hyun.
Well, at least I'm not thirsty anymore. I guess that's what we can say there.
It's important to not be thirsty, I would say.
All right, back on business. Time to do some StarCraft commentary, Nathanius. This is our last game in the round of 16 before we get into the quarterfinals. I'm very excited for this because we have some amazing games coming in the quarterfinals. The round of 8 will start at 4 p.m. local Swedish time. I guess that's in about 2 hours' time. So do make sure to watch.
And it's going to be a great series of games. I'm already personally looking forward to seeing Lucifron and Jaedong play. But as far as this match goes, Paulo, you have any feelings about this this particular Terran versus Zerg that we're about to see here between two Korean players?
Well, you know, as all the questions you can ask, the only thing that I'm thinking of right now is that Coke. So I'm a bit distracted. I've really been put off my game. But what I think we're going to see, and I will get to the answer, I think we're going to see aggression from Hyun in lots of different ways.
That's a pretty apt way of putting it. Hyun is kind of known, at least in Zerg versus Terran. I can't tell you how many times, I've been sticking with a lot of the online commentary, and Hyun is in everything all over, pretty much every single online cup where there's any money to be made. In this guy versus Terran, he loves to go for roaches. He's going to go for a gas opening this game without seeing terribly much anyway. And I feel like your prediction is going to be quite correct, Apollo.
Yeah, and Hyun's now spotted this command center first, so he knows exactly what he's going up against here. And, I mean, but if you look at both of these guys' runs to where they are now in the round of 16, they've had an incredible run. Hyun, in this tournament, has only dropped a single map. Just one map, going 3-0, 3-0, 3-0 in the 3 different group stages. On the other hand, though, Gumiho, not quite as clean when it comes to results. Group stage 1, 3-0, 6-0 in maps expected. But group stage 2 was 2 wins to 1 loss, losing versus Tasia. Group stage 3, 2 wins to 1 loss, losing versus Jaedong. Hyun, when it comes to results so far in this tournament, is looking the better player. Will that reflect in this best of 3 series?
It's a very important question to ask, and kind of interesting. I actually had a chance to speak with Hyun before the matches earlier today, and he was mostly looking forward to trying to get towards some Zerg versus Zerg. He's feeling a lot more confident in that matchup. He feels like the aggression is going to be the best way to play so far, at least versus Gumiho. He says this might be one of his harder matches of the day, so this is going to be very interesting to see. He's already opening up with 8 Zerglings, so he wants to put on a little bit of pressure to at least try to deny this base.
Look at that, a Balian Nest has been put down here by Hyun. This is the exact same build that we saw Jaedong do yesterday against Gumiho in the exact same location. This is a bit of deja vu. Are we watching a replay? No, this is live. Oh.
But is this real life, Apollo?
Is this real life?
Well, these Zerglings are about to find out. They're heading into the natural expansion. Now, it hasn't been moved down just yet by Gumiho, but we did see a rather interesting scenario come up in that game, as you mentioned, versus Jaedong, with the quick Baneling bust where it ended up going for 50 minutes. So there's quite a few things that could happen here. And interestingly enough, Gumiho's going for the same build himself, straight to that armory, and we could be looking at Hellbats. Is that going to be enough to hold on here? Is Hyun going to take this aggression in a different way that he's going to be able to actually end this very early on against Gumiho?
So look at the bottom of the screen, 16 drones to 27 SCVs. Ideally, he wants to bring that lower, but oh, he spotted it. He knows it's coming. He knows, can he react in time?
Well, the Hellion is going to get caught. He will be able to kill it off. The Banelings moving into that ramp, detonating, killing off both of those supply depots. Gumiho's SCVs are not there in time, and he's going to get right inside of this base, immediately going after those SCVs. The one Marine that's here, and Gumiho throws out a very fast GG. Hyun. Well, that's quite a way to open a series, Apollo.
He says, GTFO, out of this tournament, please. This is mine. This is mine. Is Gumiho really going to fall shorter than he did last time? Let me just tell you, in the last DreamHack tournament, bear in mind, Gumiho has never been to a non-Korean tournament before DreamHack. He came to DreamHack hand in hand with Linog, aiming to go to the finals with him to win a lot of money and to come to DreamHack Winter at the end of the year. He failed that mission, lost versus Jaedong in the round of 8 in Stockholm. Now he came back again, and from what I've been told, he went up to his coach and manager and said, I want to go back to DreamHack. I want to go and get what I wanted to in the first place. Is he going to fall short a round earlier than previous? He's currently 1 game away from being eliminated in the round of 16. Hyun could possibly move on to the round of 8 again.
Yeah, and it's very, like you said, is that drama. He wants to be able to come here and prove his worth. And I think it's mildly interesting. He's actually playing without the towel on his mouse today, so maybe he's feeling like he has that confidence. But after a game number 1 like that, it's going to be a pretty difficult for him to manage to bring this any further as far as how he's going to be able to deal with the aggression that's coming from Hyun.
Yeah, well, we'll see how this is going to work out because I mean, Gumiho. If you look at Gumiho, he in 2010, 2011, he had a lot of problems. You know, as a player, he was rarely in GSL, he was rarely in Code S, but in 2012, he then started to hit Code S really hard, was inside Code S all the time. At the start of 2012, was actually a semi-finalist within the GSL. You know, he then went on to all-kill in the GSTL finals against Slayers EG. But as of recent, he hasn't quite put the same performances out there. He's been on a bit of a decline. But as of recent, I mean, if we look over to Hyun, as of recently, he's just becoming stronger and stronger and stronger. You know, he started out, I remember his first DreamHack tournament was in Stockholm 2012. And he was very new to StarCraft 2, wasn't that good of a player. But since then, he went on to be a GSL finalist at the end of the year. He took 16 kills in the IPL Fight Club. Has been to many international tournaments, but funnily enough, as good as he's been rising and rising and rising in international tournaments outside Korea, he's never made it past the round of 8, which is really surprising.
Yeah, and I feel like this is a tournament for both of these players to really prove that they've still got something left in the tank as far as being able to commit and really make deep runs in these brackets. Although, I feel like, you know, you kind of bring up the personal aspect of really wanting to come back to DreamHack for Gumiho. How demoralizing of a loss can it be in a best-of-3 series like this to just lose straight up like that? Didn't even have a chance like that game versus Jaedong.
It will be demoralizing. He'll have a terrible 16 hours flight back to Korea. Because that's what it will be. Tomorrow morning he'll get up and he'll hate his life and he'll go back, you know, disappointing his team. And not only that, is both of them, Lucky and Gumiho were the two players that came. Lucky didn't even make it to the round of 16. He dropped down in the round of 32. And if Gumiho finishes in the round of 16, how can they go back home and enter that FXO house and say, guys, round of 32 and round of 16, we're sorry. You know, they didn't even make any money here. That's not why they were sent. They were sent here to conquer and rule everything. If Gumiho comes back a champion, then I think Lucky can be excused. But this is big for Gumiho, but likewise for Hyun as well. I mean, Hyun's now been sent out, you know, with his new team. He's here. I'm expecting him to do well too.
Yeah, and you know, Hyun, he's just a kind of player he's always in the competitive environment is another great thing to keep in mind. Not even just custom games or ladder games to practice. He's always playing in the tournaments. Now, as far as this map goes, for this long trek that Gumiho's going to need to make to come back in this series, what do you think his chances are? I feel AKILON Waste is going to favor Hyun's aggressive styles.
Yeah, if we see some more aggressive play from Hyun, this could be a very fast 2-0, and it's very likely to happen here. AKILON Waste, the two bases, it's a two-player map. They're really short distances between each player's natural. Hyun can absolutely do something incredibly aggressive here and just take it 2-0. Gumiho needs to play this out smart, needs to be scouting wisely, needs to not be too greedy, and needs to just identify the right way to play against a potential aggressive player. If not, then he will leave the tournament in the round of 16 and will not get the chance to play in the round of 8.
Yeah, and well, you can see he's kind of holding that towel in his hand, Gumiho. This is going to be a big game, and I feel like he's going to want this one to go longer than 6 minutes. As that being attacked, and he's got the towel on his hand now.
Look at that wrapped around his hand.
I said he's going beast mode now.
This is beast mode as he's preparing himself for battle. And it's going to be a difficult one, that's for sure, as he's like, come on, what's going on? I thought he actually said, turn around, I know Korean. If you watch the Season 1 finals, you know I'm very good at Korean. I mean, Minsik from SK Gaming does a great job translating, but DreamHack, I know you're listening. If you want me to do some translating, I will absolutely do it for you. Did you see it? Did you see my translation?
Actually have not. I didn't catch your Korean.
It was great, though. It was absolutely great. All right, so we now are into the lobby of GameHeart, as you can see. And it looks like things are getting underway momentarily here. Oh, no, we have to actually remake it. So, Gumiho going up against Hyun. I really can't see Gumiho losing this next map. I definitely feel that he's going to tie it up and we go to a long game. Just look how well he played against Jaedong on WHIRLWIND yesterday. If he gets the opportunity to play it out long, play it out in the mid to late games, he can absolutely go distance with any Zerg player worldwide.
It's a very good point to make. And I think, harkening back to that Jaedong match, AKILON Wastes, as far as the strategy that we saw from Gumiho yesterday, very interesting mech play. Is this going to be the kind of style that he goes for if he can make it to the later stages of this game against Hyun? Because this is going to be a map that could potentially favor a mech style more, or do you think we're going to see Gumiho stick with a more standard Terran approach?
It really depends on how he plays this out. For example, if he tries to play tanks early, he may go into mech, especially if he wants Hellbats and then to tanks. Definitely could play mech here. AKILON Waste a great map for it, but it really just comes down to one thing, and that's how Gumiho's feeling at this point. Depending on that is what we'll see come into his play as Hyun is warming up. He's typing to his girlfriend on Facebook saying, darling, I hope you're watching. I've won game number 1 and game number 2 is just for you.
And, the other thing to consider is oftentimes when you take that first game in a best-of-3 series, especially that easily, say, okay, well, game number 2, worst comes to worst, I go for a big aggressive play. If it gets shut down, then I've always got game number 3 to fall back on. And it might be on a map where... well, I guess this is probably the best chance that he has at going for that aggression. Walling off AKILON Waste's natural ramp is a nightmare. And I feel like, I don't think we're going to see Gumiho do the 2 racks, or at least that he attempted against Jaedong yesterday.
No 2 racks here. No 2 racks.
Yeah, too much on the line.
Not coming in at all. Well, I think the build that Hyun will go for is for he may go hatchery, gas, spawning pool, take the gas, and then build a roach swarm really early and use that initial 100 gas, 150, 200 gas on roaches, and then go back to droning. I don't think he'll go for a complete all-in. I think he may open like that to kill SCVs early and get an advantage and then play the game from there. But we'll see if that happens. I definitely feel aggression though. Hyun has always been a roach bailing superstar. Always been. Always has been.
So against this, you think maybe Gumiho, Command Center first or Reaper play, at least for spotting this?
Command Center first still. Reaper play is good, But the thing is with Reaper play is that, yes, it can go in and see the gas being mined, but as soon as speed is near done, Zerglings with speed are going to chase it away anyway. So you don't actually get any scouting information from going Reapers to know if you're getting all in or not. You just know it's a potential possibility, which you know if you're going to command center first anyway.
Yeah, and actually, I think the lobby we ended up in, it looks like the map's Neoplanet S. Hopefully, we have to run the right map at least. Yeah, I feel like no matter what, either of those maps are going to be good for the aggression from Hyun. And Gumiho...
Well, what do you reckon's the best thing for Gumiho to do if you know or think that your opponent's going to be aggressive? What do you think's the best Terran build strategy to rely on?
I mean, if you know your opponent's going to be aggressive, you could still play with the command center first, but just not go for the fast third. You could go for barracks after expanding. With how fast Hyun might bring the pressure, it's going to be a little bit hard to know because it depends on whether or not you can get those barracks up in time. But at the very least, getting a fast bunker, if you're aware of what's coming, then that's really, it's all about scouting as far as holding early pressure as Terran.
Is a bunker going to be enough, though, to defend against roaches and roach banelings? You know, banelings come crashing through that thing, roaches come and kill SCVs that are repairing it. You know, it may not be enough here against such an aggressive player like Hyun, and that's, you know, how I feel he's going to play here.
And as far as that goes, it also to come down to how much you're going to commit to defending, because if Hyun doesn't go for that big aggressive play, if he shows the early gas or something of that sort, then Gumiho overcommits, you run into some issue. He can cut Hellions and get faster Widow Mines, perhaps, if he's going to go for the factory after the command center first. But that's also going to limit his own ability to harass and be mobile, like I said, if Hyun doesn't go for a crazy amount of aggression.
All right, so it looks like the game is now ready. It is going to be on AKILON way, so thank you for bearing with us as we did sort out that bit of a problem with the hosting. I'm excited for this game. I believe 1-1 into 2-1 Hyun. Your prediction?
I think Hyun's gonna go ham with his aggression, and I feel like he can pick up a very quick 2-0.
Wow, FXO are going to be disappointed in our predictions, aren't they? Because that is not looking good for their team, especially Lucky going out earlier today. Hyun, though, if he does move on past this level, I wonder if he can actually get past the round of 8, considering that his next opponent in this tournament is most likely going to be Violet. Against Stardust, I think Violet's going to win, but as I say that, Stardust has picked up map number 1. I keep on doubting Stardust as a player here, but we'll see how that map does go on. Those games do continue on as we are now finally into this.
And it is going to be interesting to note, of course, since Hyun has been looking for ZVZ in this tournament. He's very confident now. But here he is, spawning in the bottom right position of the map that is AKILON Wastes. Our red Zerg from Quantic Gaming, it is Hyun. And spawning in the top left position as the blue Terran player coming in for DHOpen, it is Gumiho.
Okay, Gumiho. Let's see if he can do it. The Tal Terran here. All killed EG Slayers in the GSTL finals early last year, or mid last year. Was a semi-finalist in the GSL in the start of 2012. Took a long time to get to where he is now, and he really, really wants this win. On the other hand, though, Hyun is the guy that seems, you know, pretty good.
Yeah, and he's definitely one of the more formidable opponents that he'll have to face against here. Now, he is going to open up with the barracks, so we could potentially see him go for that gas at the same supply, that being 12. He could go for 13 gas, and it is going to be that 12 supply gas. So what Gumiho wants to do, get that fast Reaper out, also expand behind it most likely. Now, at least on this map, you mentioned that the Reaper could be an issue here if Hyun does open up with the fast gas. What kind of play can Gumiho make after the Reaper to ensure that that won't completely crush him? Because we did see, even on this map, or at least in the series that we saw from Gumiho against Jaedong, or I believe it was at the SEC versus Life we saw on this map, the Zerglings were able to just make the command center lift very early on once that speed was out.
So with the Reaper opening, you know, it's not really going to help him too much in identifying the all-in really, really early. But what his goal should be here, with getting the gas, if he's going to try to play like this, is to get 2 Reapers into an expansion, into a pretty fast factory, and from there on out, use Hellions and Reapers in combination for the time being, like 2 Reapers, few Hellions, to keep tabs on units popping out of the natural hatchery of his opponent. If he spots it nice and early, he may already start his Marauder production, He may have time to build additional bunkers. He may have time to hold this off. He may not even get a third command center. He may just try to defend it outright, if that's what we're to see.
Yeah, and that gas is now being mined by Hyun, so he does have that option to go for the big aggression. I'm a little bit curious to see if he's going to go for, as you said, he might try to use that gas to go straight into Roaches even before Zergling's speed, but now there are 4 of them on the way. That Reaper's making its way across the field, and that second Reaper that you mentioned is now also on the way with the command center, so nothing really out of the ordinary here for Gumiho. Standard Reaper opening, being able to get the scout, but there is that drone in the main base that will be able to do a nice bit of scouting as well for Hyun as this match continues, and well, there goes the factory. Nothing really decisive yet out of Hyun.
Yep, not yet. He's about to get Zergling speed first, and he'll probably, I mean, you can just, or you should do, just take out a gas for now, and then leave 1 in, and then near the completion of Zergling speed, doesn't want to lose that Reaper. Near completion of Zergling speed, he'll want to put 2 drones back into gas for a total of 3, and then go for the all-in if that's what he wants to do. And by that time, these Reapers will have no information, because they won't be able to get in and scout. But nice bunker placement here from Gumiho. He's going to prevent creep spread from coming down. He's going to keep a location where Hellions and Reapers can have kind of a reinforcement point and sit there and scout from this position.
Yeah, it's a nice forward place where he can kind of safely fall back into. He can also regenerate the Reaper's health inside of that bunker as the SCV to repair. And the Queen's actually going to shove these Reapers off. One of them getting very low on health, but he's just going to jump right into that bunker. And as the Zergling speed is coming in, Hyun, though, he hasn't really gone straight back into that gas. The natural expansion is done for Gumiho. Hellion production starting. He's actually going to go for a very quick starport, so it looks like we could see something along the lines of a fast Hellion drop, but with no second gas, is this going to be, is he going to go, can he go real Hellbats in this situation, Apollo?
I mean, no, not really. Without the second gas, you can't afford it. Though, on the other hand, I'm looking at Hyun, and he has added a second and third gas here. Reaper goes in. The bunker does fall down here. The Reaper's looking for a Roach Warrior and a Bailey Nest or anything. He's going to go scout the natural now. But with 3 gases here, this isn't really an all-in. You know, he hasn't got a Bailey Nest down. He hasn't got a Roach Warrior down. Unless he throws it immediately now after these Reapers are gone.
Yeah, and you know the interesting thing is with this gas, he doesn't have to go with the aggression like you mentioned. He could still throw on 2 evolution chambers and then take, move on and take a third base at some point. But we're actually going to see something very interesting from Gumiho going into Hellion Banshee play, which is something that, especially off this 1 gas, guys, we won't be able to get anything like Cloak. It's a very interesting setup, and at the same time, that Roach Horn has started, Apollo.
Yeah, it started as well as Overlord speed here, but he's got so many drones. He's not going to try and do this off off hatchery tech. He'll probably go up to layer. The Overlord speed here is probably for a bit of scouting, but also to soak up Widow Mines if he does go for an attack. But overall, Gumiho's set up nicely. The Banshee's going to be really good defensively, especially if he keeps on building them. I mean, what? Is he going to build Zerglings, Roaches, and Banelings against Banshees? Banshees will bring them down if he keeps the production up of them.
Yeah, I mean, it does take a Banshee 6 shots to kill a Roach, so it takes quite a bit of time. Once you get out a few of them, can become a little bit more of an issue, but that composition that you mentioned earlier, just the 2, the Reapers with a couple of Hellions, being able to shove away at some of these units, shove away at the creep tumors. Of course, going into that third base, he doesn't want to get pinned in by the Roach. Off the natural with his 3rd command center. And he's got a pretty nice position here with this many Hellions and the Queen. They can do a lot of damage, but with that pneumaticized carapace complete, the Overlord's being able to fly in very quickly to spot everything that's in Gumiho's base. And now he's starting to put that pressure on at the natural expansion. The Zerglings come out, but there's not quite enough just yet. And here come the Roaches, Apollo.
8 more Roaches on the way, though. See, these Hellions shouldn't really be able to do anything. There is a Banshee on the natural where it is doing a bit of damage here. 3rd command center is coming down. Drones are falling too, but with another Queen about to pop from the natural, this is going to be deflected, or at least pushed away for now. But he has managed to get a couple of kills with this Banshee.
Yeah, a good couple of pickups. Banshee is something that's just not really as popular anymore, especially since, as a Zerg, you no longer need to get the evolution chamber to build those spore crawlers. But Apollo, we watched a very interesting game from Gumiho versus Jaedong yesterday on Whirlwind, and he's building 2 additional factories right now.
Yep, he's going over to Mech. With the full 4 gases are taken, he'll take his 3rd base very shortly as well. The thing is, though, that Hyun needs to identify this because he needs to start to change his strategy around it. For example, maybe as soon as the layer's done, maybe get Ventral Sacks, considering he's got Overlord speed, start dropping on top of this, building up a big army. Hellions are running around, and I don't think there's too many Roaches or any units at home. Could get a few drone kills.
Yeah, there's definitely an opportunity here to put some pressure on. The Queens are going to deflect the Hellions from that 3rd base. And, one of the more interesting things about the way that Gumiho played this out was there was a Swarm Host response. He went for a lot of Hellions for mobility with his mech force in that game yesterday. Is that something that we could see here as far as dealing with maybe perhaps a more Roach-based force?
Yeah, I definitely think we could see that. Yeah, I do. But I was looking through the vision of Hyun's, the vision of Hyun just now, and he has seen the additional factories. He knows exactly what he's playing against, and he's now taken a 4th hatchery of his own. There's a couple of timings that he can aim to hit. He could get Ventral sacked straight away and try to drop, because there aren't a massive amount of Vikings. But what he may do is just shoot up his economy super high, go to 2-2, go towards the infestation pit super fast, and just aim towards Vipers immediately. And if he gets towards that, and any movement out here by Gumiho, gets instantly crushed by Roach Viper.
Yeah, and I kind of...
Ventral sacks.
Yes, he's going to be preparing to go for some of those drops. I think one of the more interesting things, especially considering that Gumiho does go for more Hellions, or at least he's now mixing in some Hellbats, but with a lot of Hellions in the composition that he's been favoring. Actually, some really nice Banshee pressure here on this 4th base, but one of the really interesting things is the Hellbats make dropping on top of the mech force a lot more difficult. That splash damage can really punish it a lot more effectively than Hellions could in Wings of Liberty.
Yeah.
So this is going to be very interesting to see how Gumiho balances out his Hellions, his Hellbats. He actually had one of the first professional uses of the Transformation Servos upgrade in that match yesterday.
All right, well, what he's going to do now is just max out on Roaches as fast as he can. There's a couple of drops coming in which he may not know about. He did take control of the Zelnogta. I think he may have just caught the end of them, but his unit movement doesn't suggest he did. So he could actually lose quite a few units here into the main base. Drones very exposed.
Yeah, those Roaches are actually, they're juxtaposed between the natural and the 3rd, but now the Hellbat drops are moving in. The drone's immediately going to get pulled away. Gumiho dropping on top of them, starting to cook up a few, but not really getting the big hits he needs just yet. There's quite a few of them that are in the red, but the Roaches are going to be able to come up in here and to deflect the majority of this attack. Hyun, he's okay so far, but now the drop's going to move in towards the natural. Is he going to jump there, or will he go for the 3rd? The 3rd it is. The Spore Crawler really getting those medevacs low, but Gumiho's going to start to get a nice couple of drone hits, but still not actually getting the 2nd shot to really fry up the rest of them.
Yeah, he hasn't lost too many drones. He's still at 76, which is a very high comfortable point to be at. But what we're going to see now is this attack starting to come in. He'll push up probably as soon as his overload's finished to 200 supply, and as 2-2 completes is the perfect time to go here. Doesn't really want to go before that. And we're going to see this drop come down, but if he doesn't go before 2-2, there's quite a few units. Look at that, there's tanks, there's Hellbats, there's Banshees, there's Marines. Ooh, it's going to be rough. I think this can still work. He's got 15 Roaches on the way, 190 supply. 2 Vikings, though, are going to start drilling into these Overlords.
And one of the key things here about holding this kind of drop play off is, the tanks being sieged up. They're also going to start to kill themselves if the Roaches get dropped right on top of the edges of them. But here comes the drop. The Banshee does see all these Overlords moving in. The Vikings are going to start to poke away. They're actually not killing any of the Overlords with anything inside of them, though. So here they come. The Thor's going to get some shots off on them, but the Roach drop heading in. The SCV's being pulled to repair, but he's not actually right on top of the tanks just yet. So if he drops here, the tanks will still get great volleys. He's just going to go for the production instead. The Overlord's moving in towards the main base. Tanks sieging up for Gumiho. He's bringing everything back. He does have the Banshees as well to help deal with this, and the Roaches are going to begin to drop, but there is a lot here for Gumiho. He's actually not getting on top of the army. If he can clean these Roaches up without losing the majority of his production, he's going to be in a great spot. There's not really anywhere to retreat now for Hyun. The SCV's being pulled to fight these Roaches, basically acting as a force field, and he's going to be able to kill off the majority of this. And when you're playing with a mech style, losing the economy is not really the worst thing that can happen to you.
Yeah, that was kind of bad there by Hyun. Didn't really do anything there, so good defense there by Gumiho. Cleans every single thing up, and this may be a timing where he just moves out himself across the map, but he has to be a little bit careful. 11 drones are on the way, which is going to push him up to about 80 drones. So he's going to be able to keep on rebuilding all of the Roaches that he just lost there. But this, I think, is a perfect timing for 2 things. Either an attack by Gumiho, or at least move out, clear his 4th base, then go. A switch up over to Swarm Host has been activated here by Hyun, but that assault was not worth it.
Definitely not. And I think another interesting thing to note is that with this transition into Swarm Host coming in, we do still have a couple, 4 medevacs actually available for Gumiho. So he's going to be able to get a little bit more mobile. If those Swarm Hosts are cut out of position, he can drop the Hellbats on them. He's had these 2 Banshees playing ball the whole game. These Vikings actually catching a couple of these Overlords full of Roaches on the right side. And I feel like I like the sensor tower quite a bit, Apollo, at least for being able to spot any more drops coming in. But does he have enough right now to break through the defenses of Hyun?
Without injuring Locust, maybe here, because he's got a lot of Hellbats coming through. They'll crush through these Locusts. There's only a few Swarm Hosts here. And then he keeps on moving forward. A scan right now will just eliminate all the Swarm Hosts.
Yeah, so he's going to continue to press. He's actually brought some Marines. He's got SCVs to repair too. Gumiho wants to tie this series up, blowing these swarm hosts to smithereens. He's going to step in towards the third and the natural. The Locusts are doing everything that they possibly can, but the majority of the swarm has been killed. Now 25 roaches in production, but those tanks can actually protect from roaches coming down that ramp for now. So the Thors and Hellbats are going to be able to step over to the third. There's the macro hatchery here as well, and his tanks are also very well spread as far as dealing with anything like the potential of being blinding cloud. But the Vikings here also taking great care of them. There's really not too much that Hyun can do at this point.
Yeah, he's going to lose a lot here. Tank's in perfect position. Hyun tried to go for this roach drop, did not work, and now Gumiho punishes him with everything that he had left at home, and he takes a good 50-60 supply lead.
Yeah, especially considering he's going for mech composition. Supply leads mean even more, and there's the GG from Hyun. Gumiho ties this series up 1-1.
Keeps his tournament alive here, goes 1-1, and needs one more win to advance to the round of 8. I'm sure that's Lucky. Yeah, okay, so he turns around, has a few words with his teammate Lucky, and says, not bad. Did better than I did. But we'll see if he's able to beat Hyun. This is going to go to the wire. The last map is Neoplanet S. You know, Hyun, so aggressive, really changing the way that Gumiho is trying to play this out. After that game number 1, you know, going for Banshees early, scouting early with that Reaper. Whew.
That was a treat to watch. In all honesty, I love seeing the mech play out of the Terran. But the next map is going to be Neoplanet S. And Apollo, I think you can both agree this is not going to be the most favorable map for mech compositions. That third base is very exposed as opposed to AKILON Waste, especially considering he took the pocket base as the third. He wanted to play very defensively against, you know, the kind of aggressive style that Hyun has. What kind of play is Gumiho going to need to make, especially since this map will also favor two-base aggression from Hyun?
All right, so the options that Gumiho may have to choose from is 2 racks on this last map, 2 racks, which I think we may see Hyun Drone Scout. He also has, he can't play mech, not here, can't play mech, he has to play bio. Could go normal 3 command centers. So 1 barracks command center, or command center first, sorry, into gas, into just the regular setup. May play tanks. But I'm feeling just the 3 command center build again. But very, 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 very important information has to be gathered by Gumiho if he wants to survive. He needs to figure out what's going on by Hyun, who very well may understand that a 2 racks will come, so Drone Scout, and then understand that a command center may come, so may plan it all in here.
That's a very good point. I like your mentioning of the tank play, though, because you can go 3 command centers and still play very defensively. One of the cool things about Neoplanet S is from the top of the main base ramp, you can protect your natural with just a single siege tank, and he doesn't need to make much more than that, especially considering with the way that Hyun does like to play, and Hyun may go straight back into the earlier aggression after that loss. You really can't take any chances. It's 1-1. The loser of this game is out.
Loser of this game is out, and that is a sad place to be in. We've had a couple of players eliminated already. We are very close to having only 8 players remaining here at DreamHack, starting with 128. 13 Koreans came to this tournament, and there's quite a few left. If you mean the bottom 2 matches are all Koreans, so there was 13 Koreans that entered this tournament. By the round of 8, there's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Koreans out of the 13. They have been dropping down, of course.
It's pretty impressive. I mean, as far as some of our foreigner strings, we still have some really good foreigners left in Lucifer. We actually had Show advance. He's going to have quite a mountain ahead of him of competition, and I feel that. Which of these players do you really think has a better chance of going further, though? If depending on either who would advance, who can actually make it to the end?
Let's have a look. It's going to be Zerg versus Zergs in the bottom. Potentially. I'm not sure what the result of the Stardust game is, though. So Stardust may advance. I think, looking at it, Life's down there as well. I think Hyun has the better chance to go to the finals because Zerg versus Zerg would be better, I think, than Life going up against Gumiho.
Yeah, it's a very good point. I also want to consider that, I mean, even Gumiho still would have a pretty interesting run, I think, through that many Zergs with this mech style that he's been showing off, something that these other players may not have really seen as much, especially since, in the Korean scene, it's not something we've really seen any mech in WCS Korea, so anything that these guys would be used to, Gumiho's going to throw that out the window, but we're loading into this map. And any thoughts on who you think will be able to take this game, Apollo?
I think this is Hyun's map. I thought he'd tie it up, and I still believe that Hyun will win this 2-1. I may be wrong. I'm wrong in a lot of predictions, but I'm right in a lot, and also wrong in a lot. But I think it's going to be 2-1 to Hyun.
Yeah, I feel with the aggressive tendency, I feel like we could see a bit him turn it up a little bit more. I do think, though, that if Gumiho plays a defensive opener like a tank expand or like going for some more of the defensive play, I think he will have a better chance. But I still think that Hyun overall is going to be favored because that's going to put him at a disadvantage anyway economically.
The problem with tanks, though, is that when you play tank play, is that you can't deal with creep spread. You have no kind of form of harassment, and you let the Zerg player do whatever he wants. They're also not that good in fights, especially because if you have a big tank line, Mullers can come in, pick them off. They're not as cost efficient. If you lose a fight and you lose your tanks, that's a lot more painful than losing mines because they're a lot cheaper, a lot more cost efficient. So tanks, why would you build tanks when you can have widow mines is the main point there. But maybe, maybe he has to. Maybe he has to in the early stage just to make sure he defends. But, we're all saying this, banking on Hyun actually being aggressive. That may not even be the case.
Yeah, we did see him kind of went for later stages of aggression in the last map. He didn't actually commit to that same type of all-in that we saw on map number 1, Whirlwind. So I guess really, I guess this is kind of a sign of what we've been talking about. The ball is in Hyun's court for the most part for how this game is going to turn out. Yeah.
So it's taken a long while to load once again.
I think
there's a lot of people in here, so there's like 10 different people trying to load into this, which does take a while. I hope it actually does load, otherwise we're going to be waiting a little bit longer. And it's kind of a bit frustrating for the players, in all honesty, to have to load in when it could be instant, to have to reload and make the map again.
It's a bit annoying. At the cost, of course, we do have a lot of community streams broadcasting this in other languages, which is one of the benefits, I think, of the broadcast that we run. But it does, of course, create a couple scenarios where there might be a little lag getting into the games, but it does look like we are in the lobby now to be able to move into this. So the players are just checking that we're still going to go through with this since one of our other observers has dropped out. And Gumiho is ready to go. Hyun is ready to go. So we bring you this game in just a couple of seconds. Any last thoughts before we jump into this game?
Gumiho, watch out.
I think that's the best advice you could really give him, as Hyun's aggression. It's his hallmark. So we're counting down. You can see the beautiful landscape that is of Neoplanet S, icy world. And spawning in the top right position as our red Terran player. He was down after a very fast Baneling bust, came back with some interesting mech play from DHOpen. It is Gumiho. And he's come close to being able to pull this back. He will need the second game in a row, but his opponent spawning in the bottom left position as the blue Zerg, very aggressive Korean from Quantic Gaming. It is Hyun.
He's got a couple of bottled waters on hand. He can use them as champagne if he wins. Because this is a big match between these two players. Really, really big. The next... Well, whoever wins this map moves on to the round of 8. Where, like I mentioned before in the previous cast, is that you get $1,500 just for winning. This best of 1 virtually now. You get the opportunity to go to the top 4, which Gumiho wants to do, and likewise does Hyun, for different reasons. Of course, Gumiho only finishing in the round of 8 in Stockholm, and Hyun never advancing further than a round of 8 before in an international tournament.
Yeah, that's a good point. Also considering as well that there are WCS points on the line, and I feel that, Hyun didn't really have any kind of WCS runs, actually. I think neither of these players really got deep enough to the point where they have any significant accumulation of points. So offline events are pretty much going to be the saving grace of some of these players that aren't even in Premier League for the next season, I think, for either WCS Korea or, just Korea. Yeah,
and I think they have like 600 points, Gumiho, 400 points for Hyun. It's not even, top 20, so... It's very, very important. I mean, imagine if Gumiho, for example, who has the higher points, manages to get and wins the tournament and gets the 750 points, pushing him up to 1,500. Still not close to Innovation, who's up like 4,000 points or something ridiculous.
But, it's getting into that top 16. You don't need to be first to actually get into the event, which is the most important thing to consider here. As we do have the command center first, again, from Gumiho. He's going to start that barracks, but we have a very fast gas from Hyun, and this could be a sign that he does want to go for that aggression. He could just go on a little bit of pressure, but, unlike Zergs like Life, who will go for the gas and just play defensively with it and just make a couple of Zerglings work like horses, he's just going to more than likely be aggressive. He is going to spot this command center first to the Overlord, and now... like I said, the ball is it's in Hyun's court. He can decide where this game is going to go with whatever he does with this gas.
Yeah, and Hyun has now the option. He's thinking about it. He's probably made his decision already. He knows it's command center first. He's got 3 in gas at the moment. We want to mine all the way up to 100. Even if he doesn't get Zergling speed, the option for building a Roach Warren is possible here. Is he going to try to do something against Gumiho? What's Gumiho going to do behind this? Only at a single gas at the moment. Throws down his factory, which is super normal. Zergling speed is being researched. 2 out of gas, so nothing incredibly fast coming out here from Hyun.
Yeah, still looking quite a bit like our last game, so he will potentially go for the later defensive roaches that we did see. And I'm curious now with Gumiho taking the second gas in his main base, are we going to see something like the Hellbat play that he did throw quite a bit of at Jaedong? So what I guess is most interesting is, what is Hyun going to do as far as this aggression goes? Are we going to see the big counterattack style? Gumiho is going to be able to do the opener that he wants, and I feel like this is ideal, at least in this situation.
Yeah, Gumiho is going to probably, I mean, the most likely build is going to be for the armory, to get those Hellbats down. There it is coming in. So he will want to put a bit of pressure onto his opponent, looking to kill those drones, roast those drones. On the other side of things, though, Hyun just building up to 10 extra. With this overload on the left-hand side, he will be able to see the factory come onto the barracks, and may even be able to see the starport come down, depending on where it is. And look at that, even throwing it into the wall, just anticipating potential bust, Baneling bust here.
And I like this play. It's just playing safe. He's not doing anything ridiculous. Hyun, though, he's going to take that third base, and I really like this play because now that he knows what's going on, all he really needs to do, defend the aggression that can come. And look at this, Apollo. That Roach Horn is going to come down despite him throwing up that third.
I think we could see some play from Hyun here. He's floating about 30. Oh, okay, he's going up too high drone count, I think. He's going to go up to about 42. I mean, you can go high drone count. A second gas is coming down as well. We really need to watch what he does with his overlords now, because if he wants to go for a big attack, he should start to build quite a few overlords. With overlord speed coming in, he's not going to go for this, I don't think. Because why would you go scout if you already decided on going for an all-in, right? So it doesn't make too much sense. So I don't think he's going to try anything here.
Yeah, that's a very interesting point to make, especially, I mean, he does have enough drones to saturate his 2 bases, so at the very least, he could use the third hatchery as some sort of macro production, get the extra larva out with injections, but we have double medevac production, double Hellbat production, and I do have to say, though, that pneumaticized carapace is a very interesting choice, especially since with this strategy, it's not like he's going to be able to use overlords to tank anything like Widowmine shots.
No, I mean, getting it, he wants to go in and see third command center or not, which, isn't there. He's added on additional barracks instead. With the Tech Lab, we could be seeing some Tech Lab Marauder with Hellbat play. Very strong combination of units, which is what Hyun's looking for. He sees the extra barracks, no add-ons yet. There they do come down. A reactor, and probably another reactor. Okay, so it's not going to be heavy Marauder play.
Heavy Marines is going to be the choice. And now we have those medevacs moving out across the center of the field. Hyun, though, yeah, he's getting spore crawlers for each base, but here goes 2 medevacs full of Hellbats rolling on into the main base. He's going to begin to drop them around the Queen, and I like this decision to try to take out the production, especially since the Queen is the #1 most annoying unit when you're Hellbat dropping, since it goes for your medevacs. If you can take out the Queens at the beginning of the drop, that's going to allow him to dance around for quite a while, but there is the spore crawler here. He's not going to be able to pick that off, but the Hellbat's doing everything that they can. The Roaches, though, holding strong, hasn't really lost much of anything. Yeah,
he built just enough roaches here to push this back with the Queens. He has 2. 11 more drones coming down as he realizes that, well, I kind of defended it. I think what we will see now is the double evolution chamber come down as he starts to realize, yeah, I'm pretty good at defending this. The upgrades are rather late, but so are Gumiho's, who threw down an extra barracks here. And what Gumiho is building towards is a push with Stim, Hellbats. So ideally what his strategy is, and his plan, is to bring down as many drones as possible to slow Hyun down into finishing off with a big Stim timing.
And I think this is very important to note. As he goes with his 3 medevacs full of Hellbats, he's going to at least be able to pick off this Queen. Maybe some of the drones getting a nice bit of damage done here. is Gumiho. And the most important thing to note is that behind this, he doesn't, like you mentioned, have any engineering base. It could very potentially be just a big all-in of sorts once that stim comes up here. He's going to fall significantly behind in upgrades, but also at the same time, the pressure he's put on, Hyun hasn't been able to start any upgrades either.
And there's no queens because he keeps on eliminating them, so there's actually nothing really to deal with this. 11 roaches are in the way. These drones are running for their lives. Only 49 drones on the field at this point. 11 more roaches are coming, so he's going to have a very high roach count, but there are marauders, there will be stim, there will be hellbats too.
Ooh, getting a nice couple of hits, can at least 6 or 7 drones it looks like there, as well as a roach or two. And I feel like you make a very good point. He's also taken out the injections, which means replacing these units that have been lost much more difficult. In Apollo, we have a lot of units, big red blob moving out of that mini-map.
It's a big attack here. Can Hyun survive? The damage necessary that Gumiho wanted to inflict was there. It was really there. He destroyed about 20, 30 drones.
And there's no baneling nest. There's no way to get a burst damage against this. If he gets a good position on these roaches, he has a couple marauders
Stim's
trickled
not ready. Stim's not ready.
He wants to back up just a little bit. The roaches, though, getting a hit or two in the medevacs, taking some heat from these queens. But now the stim is done. He is stepping forward, and he's just going to load everything up in the medevacs. A bit of an interesting play
to
here.
The main, he's going to the main. Roaches are very far away from this. They thought he was going to the third. He's going to the main.
And he's going to unload now right by this lair. Is he going to drop? Right now, he's going towards the macro hatchery. The Zergling's running, and he's going to be able to kill them off as they do arrive before the roaches. But, you know, you're a very good point. He's just kind of dancing back and forth. And now he can go back towards the third. He can potentially kill off this expansion. I feel like Gumiho, though, he's in a very good position to at least take a head-to-head fight here if he gets a good arc. But he's kind of said, okay, I want to lean back. I'm going to actually get this engineering base. I'm not going to go completely all in with my stim.
Well, because he didn't actually do anything with this attack yet, this is favoring Hyun the more this goes on. It looks like he's going to drop into the middle line.
And it's mostly the Marines that are going to come out of those medevacs first, so not able to kill quite as many drones as he would have liked. He does have that economic lead, though, which is very important to note, since with that third command center finishing, you know, the SCV count, he's ahead and he has mules.
But the problem here is that he's done a lot of damage to the drone line, but 1-1 upgrades are about to complete, so he no longer can be aggressive. If he immediately researches 2-2, and this is Hyun I'm talking about here, and starts to plan around a 2-2 timing, he's going to have a massive opportunity, a massive window to potentially win this game. And there's the +2 attack coming in, perfect here. And there's no mines. There are tanks coming though. Oh, look at that, tanks are actually coming into this game. They could be the saving grace for Gumiho, depending on how many there are, what locations they're in.
Yeah, that's a very good point. In the tanks, it's going to be kind of interesting because right now, as you mentioned before, tanks not going to be that great on the creep. So if Hyun can continue to spread that well enough that the tank pushes have to be slow and very methodical, that's going to allow Hyun to get better positioning on those tanks, go for flanks. We could even potentially see him get a little bit of that drop play going in here. But so far, he's just sticking on this mass roach composition. And honestly, Apollo, as Gumiho builds more and more tanks, there's going to be a bit of a timer on this composition.
Yeah, and ideally, the armory should start +1 attack for these tanks, just to deal out that extra bit of damage against these units. As that's what Hyun's aiming for here, with the infestation pit coming down as well. He can play around with that infestation pit. Like he can go into swarm host. It's definitely viable, but not as more likely. Infestors is much more likely. Likewise, is Hive. But here we do see a very powerful force. Needs that 2-2 upgrades. He's not strong until those 2-2 upgrades actually complete. So run-by is perfect here. It's going to bring Gumiho back. He actually cannot continue an assault if a counterattack is launched, which is coming.
Yeah, and I mean, the command center might at least spot this. He's going to just land away from...
He could be careful. These roaches do the amount there are. He could actually two-shot this... Okay, so he's not going to go fully with them.
Yeah, but I mean, the important thing here is, though, if Gumiho does decide to try to get that position on him, once those tanks siege, you know, just a little bit of splash damage allows that bio to chew through the very tanky roaches a lot faster than you might expect. So the third base isn't going to land. And at this point, if Gumiho is going to secede this to his opponent and give up that third base mining, he must do damage with this push. He has to do critical amounts of damage.
This is a much better place for Gumiho to be in here. The tanks, look at that. This is perfect here. The units come down, the roaches, they get absolutely slaughtered by tanks. Whoa, big hit already. Doing a good amount of damage across 5 roaches here. Good play, but where's he going to go with this? Sitting there isn't going to do too much. It looks like he's going to drop into the main base while keeping up the pressure, stimming forward, running back to the tanks all the time. Great position here for Gumiho.
And a really nice spy. He's going to try to focus down that hatchery. The roaches will shove him back for now. He can fall back on the tanks. A great fungal growth, hitting a lot of this bio for Gumiho. But that hatchery preventing the amount of actual space these roaches can move through. He needs to make sure he at least kills this hatchery before this aggression ends. The hatchery is quite low, but these tanks advancing forward. And Gumiho, with so many medevacs to heal, might be able to punch through this army of Hyun.
And he's going to get the hatchery, he's going to fall down, and on the other side of the map as well, another hatchery is going to fall down. Gumiho takes a massive lead here, despite being behind his supply. The only thing he needs to concentrate on now is a defense. He's killed the third, he's killed the fourth. Right now, there's a bunch of units spawning, which is why Hyun's at 200 supply. The tanks back at home need to be in perfect position. He doesn't need to be too spread out or going up to take his third base. If he survives the next big launch of attack by Hyun, then he's in good shape. He's got 2 tanks left at home. If not, Hyun still has an opportunity to win this game.
And I really like what you mentioned there about being more on the defensive side. As long as he doesn't lose to a big counterattack, tanks are much better at defending this type of aggression than Widow Mines. And this is an edge that Gumiho has simply based on the composition that Hyun chose. So going for that counterattack, while normally might have been able to do a bit of damage if there wasn't much defense, that you can try to bait a Widow Mine shot out. But tanks, there's no timer, aside from, of course, the regular attack cooldown. But it's a really nice defensive position. Hyun, though, he is starting to move into Hydralisks. How is this going to be able to affect the way that this army engages, though?
Well, the Hydralisks are going to be able to give out a lot of DPS, but at the end here, I mean, with so many tanks and +2 attack finishing, Gumiho cannot be broken, I don't think, at this point. And we already see that Hyun isn't going to dedicate to a massive assault to win the game or not, because he's got +1 melee attack coming in. He's going to try and play this out from a disadvantageous position. This is really difficult for him to play from. Despite being ahead in supply, the longer this game goes on, the more powerful Gumiho becomes, because he'll rush up to 200 supply, he'll have more and more tanks. This is not looking good for Hyun at all.
Yeah, I especially like your bringing up the fact that he doesn't have, just that compositional edge that Gumiho's going to have with the tanks. Without anything like Vipers, there's no hive on the field. He's not going to be able to actually mitigate those siege tanks, and they're going to be able to do tons of damage if he can get into a good position. Picks off the medevac there, but I do like that Hyun's trying to at least pull himself back in with a couple of these bases. Gumiho does have a bunker at the third base, going to try to repair this. And Hyun, his aggression, he can't really do too much right now.
No, the tanks are spread really nice there. And he's going to unsiege to take a bit of a flat position now on the low ground. Because he's almost at 200 supply, he doesn't need to be afraid anymore. Doesn't need to be hiding on the high ground inside his main base. He can definitely start to move around with this army and start to get a bit mobile. With 2 upgrades down, he definitely wants to focus on getting 3-3. Got to be careful of the fungals, though. That is one weakness of this.
Yeah, if he gets fungal out of position, and here he goes. A nice spread by Gumiho. He has the tanks in the back. He's not even going to siege them, just letting them unload that massive DPS they have towards armored units. At the same time, a big roach counterattack towards the third base of Gumiho. Hyun wants to try to trade evenly here. 25 roaches on the production tab and 1 infester. The third command center does have to lift for Gumiho. He doesn't have too much economy behind this. Not much of a bank. Hyun has enough resources to at least shove this army off if he can get the good fungals. But the problem is Gumiho has such a large force. The fungals are going to hit. There's so many medevacs, Apollo. So much energy, so much healing power.
Yeah, so much healing power, and these tanks are just doing so much damage. Loose units being chased down here. Gumiho's still behind his supply. There's a lot of roaches around the map, but ultimately these tanks may be too much. They're going to get targeted down on the left-hand side here. If the tanks go down, that's going to be a problem, but as you said, a lot of medivacs here. A lot more roaches are on the way. 23, a race against time for both players here, as Gumiho manages to hold his natural. He's going to aim towards bringing down that third base off Hyun once again, who maintains a 30 supply lead, but still, even though he has a supply lead, he doesn't have the best army to deal with this.
No, he does not. Just a compositional edge. And now more roaches. He's going to try to win this fight with numbers. And he's going to at least be able to force a lift off into these medevacs. There's not really enough infestors or hydralisks to actually kill this, the flying heal buses off.
There's just so many units from Hyun, though. His production has been absolutely incredible here. And when stopping the third base of Gumiho, he's halted his income. It looks like, I really believe that Gumiho may have had the best army composition, but he just got overwhelmed there. And I didn't think that was going to be the case, but +1 attack tanks here. Gumiho's now in a bit of trouble. Look at how many units here. Is he going to be able to defend his natural? Maybe, but he can't take his third.
And I think that's one of the big issues here. Despite good engagements, Hyun just has more money to throw away in the first place. He can just make so many roaches, like you said, truly, literally swarming over him. And, here we go. Gumiho's going to pull a lot of his SCVs with this force. He just doesn't have the amount of money available that he needs to be able to win this game.
All right, if you look at the army supply, it's quite a big difference between these two guys. 58 to 116. Gumiho with 3 Marauders is going to potentially bring down that hatchery as units are coming in. But look at, 184 supply. Hyun is just popping up bases left and right here despite losing them. he immediately replenishes. Remember that he went down to 2 bases versus 4 to 5 in this, or like 3 bases, sorry. He went down to 2 versus 3 bases. And now he's up to 4 or 5.
And it's such a difficult position to be in because, you know, the Hydralisks with that speed upgrade that they have are able to just get so much more mobility on this force. But Gumiho, there's no minerals left in the main. There's nothing left in the natural. Now he does have the third landed once again, but even taking out the spaces, look at the mineral patches at this third for Hyun. He's chewed through so many of these resources. He's already gotten the most effectiveness out of this. He's going to pull his SCVs to hold this Roach force off. The Medevac's actually healing the SCVs rather than the Marines. And here this massive Roach Hydra force is pressing in. The Infestors come in from the back. There's too much here from Hyun. Gumiho will not be able to stop this assault. GG, Hyun advances with a 2-1 victory over our FX Open Terran.
As you can see, his team is very happy with him grabbing that win.